was a big, strong boy with a very big heart. Everyone that loved and knew him was just utterly broken, inside and out. Everything hurts, day and night.
That's all we want, just some justice, that's all. He was only 19, bless him, just doing what he loved. Doesn't need this.
We're a family in ruin. We're broken. We can't grieve.
Can't just leave, she's got to come back and face the consequences.
It wasn't Harry's fault. I couldn't live with myself. And I don't think any mum or dad could.
That's all we want, just some justice, that's all.
Five straight away. He's trying to no, turn it the wrong way, Harry. Turn it towards us. Didn't even get it in your mouth. Look, you missed.
He was big-hearted, generous, free-spirited, fun-loving lad, loved by many, would do anything for anybody. Worked really hard to fund his passion for riding. There was barely a day went by where he didn't go out riding on his bike.
Here he is, the man himself.
He just was the most beautiful boy. Just a beautiful boy.
19-year-old Harry Dunn had been on his motorbike on his way to see his dad. It was a summer evening, August the 27th. He was riding through the village of Croton in Northamptonshire.
Police believe that Harry was travelling on the right side of the road. He would have been approaching the brow of that hill when he was hit head-on by a woman driving in the wrong direction. He was taken to hospital, but he later died of multiple injuries.
The crash site was just outside RAF Croton. When the ambulances arrived, Harry was still alive.
It wasn't Harry's fault.
Unfortunately, 400, 500 yards down the road, Harry was the first thing to meet her. And he just didn't have a chance. His bike against a big 4x4 Volvo, he just rolled into the screen and he was into the verge.
The driver of the other vehicle is 42-year-old Anne Sakoulas. She's the wife of US diplomat Jonathan Sakoulas, who was stationed at RAF Croton, an American spy base. Mrs. Sakoulas, a mother of 3, claimed diplomatic immunity and left the country. We don't know when she went.
We have met with the suspect and the presence of legal advisors in order for us to identify the best way forward. During the course of that meeting, we were aware that diplomatic immunity had been raised as an issue, and we then made immediate application for a waiver in order for us to undertake further investigations and interview. Unfortunately, we were latterly advised that the waiver had been declined and that the suspect had left the UK.
Three weeks after the crash, a motorcycle hearse led Harry's funeral procession. Dozens of bikers followed, some he knew, some he didn't. Police waited until after Harry's funeral to tell his parents that diplomatic immunity would not be waived and that Anne Sakoulas had gone.
A appalled, disgusted, shocked, still in shock that someone can come over from the USA and kill somebody and be allowed to go, be allowed to flee, not face what she's done to us as a family, his friends, everyone that loved and knew him. And we don't know how on earth we can start to grieve for him, because we have nothing, we have no justice, we have nothing to put our minds at rest that she's even remorseful. We've had nothing, we've had no contact.
A letter arrived 2 days after the funeral. It was from the US ambassador to the UK, offering his condolences.
I think the only thing that really sparked that letter, if I'm honest, is the fact that we informed the UK police that Harry's stepdad, stroke second dad, my husband, we informed the UK police that he's a US citizen. And within 48 hours of that news reaching the embassy, we received that letter from the ambassador. But that was the first contact, and that was 2.5 weeks after we'd lost Harry, which to us at the moment still only feels like 2 days ago since we lost him, because we're just stuck. We're stuck with nothing to move with.
Can't move forward.
It's wrong.
It's wrong, and bless Harry, he was just riding his bike, not a care in the world, just riding his bike along the road. And it's just like that. And then now there's nothing we can do. This lady has fled the scene, and we're left with nothing. We've lost our son, and we have no way of getting any justice or any answers or anything.
We made every effort to contact Anne Sakoulas, but she didn't respond, and soon afterwards most traces of her online disappeared. We also went to her original address in America, but she hadn't gone back to it.
In the suburbs near Reston, Virginia, around 40 minutes from Washington, Anne Sakoulas's house is being rented out. Neighbours described her as a kind, loving mother who'd recently moved to England.
I'd just like her to come back to the UK.
You can't leave the country. She's caused it's a terrible accident. I understand that, but she can't just leave. She's got to come back and face the consequences. You know,
I couldn't live with myself if it was me. If it was me over there, I couldn't have left. I couldn't live with myself. God, I don't think any mum or dad could.
No.
The family felt that they had no official help, so they turned to a neighbour, a former lawyer, and now their spokesperson.
This family is incredible. They're dignified, they're magnanimous, they don't hate this woman. They know she made a mistake. What they're struggling to forgive is the running away overnight. Really what we want is closure. Carrying anger and hatred and is just going to be more and more painful. So we started discussing the possibility of how could we build a bridge between two families that are clearly devastated, and we consider her a victim as well. As I said, we've been appealing to them to come and talk to us for many, many weeks now, and nothing happening. So I fear that the opportunity to do that, now, if it's not lost, then it's nearly lost.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Anne Sakoulas did not respond, but the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, did.
Fantastic. I do not think that it can be right to use the process of diplomatic immunity for this type of purpose, and I hope that Anne Sakoulas will come back and will engage properly with the processes of law as they're carried out in this country. And that's a point that we've raised or are raising today with the American ambassador here in the UK, and I hope it will be resolved very shortly. And you know, to anticipate a question that you might want to raise, if we can't resolve it, then of course I will be raising it myself personally with the White House.
After the break, the diplomatic fallout.
The woman was driving on the wrong side of the road. And that can happen. You know, those are the opposite roads. That happens. I won't say it ever happened to me, but it did.
What started as a tragic yet seemingly straightforward accident investigation has escalated to an international incident.
Do you think it's right in this case that she's been able to claim immunity?
That's really one for the Foreign Commonwealth Office, who've done a really good job here. But actually, if you look at what it looks like, the proper use of immunity, it was originally designed for diplomats to be working in hostile environments. That's clearly not the case here in the United Kingdom. And I think actually, if you kind of go back in our recent history, there actually hasn't been a situation and this is unique, in that actually they've used diplomatic immunity in this way.
The Foreign Secretary asked the US to reconsider waiving diplomatic immunity and offered to meet the family.
All right, should we get in the backpack?
Harry's parents have new partners who have always been known as Harry's second mum and dad. They are united in their fight for justice, for Harry, his twin brother Niall, and the rest of their large family. On their journey to meet the Foreign Secretary, they pass the crash site.
It's just where the flowers are still there, look. Oh my Lord, they're still...
RAF Croton is just a few miles from their home. Sky News understands that there is a special agreement for the base to allow American spies to operate on British soil without fear of prosecution. In 2013, it was reported that the station had played a part in the hacking of German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phones by US intelligence agencies. So an ordinary family find themselves in an extraordinary situation.
How are you guys feeling about the meeting?
Hopeful, really hopeful, but I don't want to get my hopes up too much in case it's not what we want.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think they're going to try and get away with it. Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, I still do. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping he's going to tell me it's good news, she's coming back and everything, but I don't know.
They entered the Foreign and Commonwealth Office looking for action. They came out with nothing new.
Just disgusted, let down by both governments. I can't really see the point as to why we were invited to go and see Dominic Raab. We are no further forward than when we were this time last week.
None of us have slept.
The family said that Dominic Raab reiterated that the Prime Minister would phone President Trump. They began their journey home with little hope.
Everybody else in the world can see what she's done is wrong. Why can't they see that? I feel like I'm being an idiot because I can see it. We can all see it. Yeah. Why can't the two most powerful men in the whatever, why can't they see it? Seriously.
They travel the 70 miles home, planning their next legal steps to get justice for their son. Sky News understands that someone from the US Embassy told Anne Sakoulas to leave. They said that as a diplomat's wife, she was entitled to immunity. The Americans maintain that it is rarely waived. But in 1997, the US was on the other side of the debate when Georgian diplomat Georgi Makaragski killed 16-year-old Jovian Waltrick and injured 4 others while drink driving in Washington. There was a public outcry led by Jovian's parents, and the Clinton administration pressured Georgia to waive his diplomatic immunity, which they did. He spent 5 years in prison. But it's 35 years since a country stood firm against the UK over diplomatic immunity. After the killing of Metropolitan Police officer Yvonne Fletcher in London in 1984. She was shot dead by someone from the window of the Libyan embassy. When the 11-day siege ended, all those inside, including the killer, made their way out and flew home after being granted diplomatic immunity. The main suspect is still being pursued in a civil case, and that is something Harry's family will consider if Anne Sakoulas won't come back.
We hope that wiser political minds will prevail and Mrs. Sakoulas will be delivered back to stand trial and to give an account of herself. But if that fails to happen, it is worth remembering that diplomatic immunity only applies whilst you're in the foreign state. And now she's returned to the United States. The family are entitled to sue her. Now, this isn't about money, this is about them understanding an explanation of how she came to kill their son. And I think the British government, if they're going to not repatriate her, should actually be funding the family to sue in America so they can get the explanation which they so richly deserve.
Harry's case was raised in a phone call to President Trump by the Prime Minister.
It's the only thing we've got.
Yeah.
It's the only thing we've got left, is that grain of hope that Donald Trump can give us.
Because he has the power to do that, doesn't he?
He's the only one, I think, from what we understand, from what we would assume. He's the only one that could give us what we need as a family to be able to start to try and look after ourselves and his twin and their siblings. But if we don't get it, we will pursue.
I was telling Boris, we have a lot of Americans that, they side on the fact that, you have 2 wonderful parents that lost their son, and the woman was driving on the wrong side of the road. And that can happen. Those are the opposite roads. That happens. I won't say it ever happened to me, but it did. When you get used to driving on our system and then you're all of a sudden in the other system where you're driving, it happens. You have to be careful, very careful. So a young man was killed. The person that was driving the automobile has diplomatic immunity. We're going to speak to her very shortly and see if we can do something where they meet. It was an accident. It was a terrible accident. We're going to speak to her, and we're going to see the person driving the car, the wife of the diplomat. We're going to speak to her and see what we can come up with so that there can be some healing. There's tremendous anger over it. It's a terrible incident. There's tremendous anger. And I understand the anger from the other side.
But a photographer zoomed in on the president's notes as he put them away. Had he been asked, he would confirm that Anne Sakoulas would not return to the UK and that she would need to consider based on the advice of her legal counsel, whether to make herself available for questioning by the British authorities.
In my experience, America is very, very reluctant to allow its nationals to be tried overseas, and is absolutely ruthless in enforcing the code of diplomatic immunity. I must say I don't think it was appropriate for that provision to be used in this case, and I made that point to the President.
Although Donald Trump says that many people have done it, yes, I'm not denying, I'm sure they have, but most people realise through one thing or another before they hit somebody that that's what they're doing. What distractions did she have in the car? Was she on her phone? We still don't have her phone records. There are still those questions we still haven't had answered.
To us, it is a case that is so easy. An accident, wrong side of the road, everything proves it, CCTV proves it. Why has it taken this long to get these people to agree this and just do the right thing? I know they're talking and I know things are moving on, but it just seems to be, I can't understand what the conversations can be. I know there's bigger things, but it's quite simple, it really is.
6 weeks after the crash, there is subtle acknowledgement of what went wrong here. But for the family's supporters, it is nowhere near enough, and they say that the sense of injustice is growing. The community that surrounds the airbase are coming together to reflect this and to raise money for Harry's family, who are going to America. The diplomacy may be complicated, but for many it is a simple case of doing what's right. They have no idea whether Anne Sakoulas and her government are listening.
You know, we've got so many pieces of the jigsaw puzzle missing.
And the truth, we just need to...
The truth is the most important.
Find the truth from it.
We're going to keep trying to find it. We will keep digging and use every source we possibly can to keep digging and getting to the truth from start to finish.